I don't want to do this at all. You can just tighten it up and squeeze, and it automatically comes down with it. But you don't want to force it down. Look what it does. Look what it does to you. Not good.
I'll just to coattail that. Ed once told me, brace like I'm going to punch you in the stomach, and then he did it. So I never forgot that. So when I get under the bar, I still think about that to this day, and I don't really pull down like that, but I'm getting ready for those massive hands to punch me in the stomach. It's been 5 years. I think about it every time I squat. So it's not as much pulling your ribcage down as it is just preparing for.
If you want to see it in action, watch some videos of us lifting. You won't see this. Go ahead, answer.
On the cue for when you're benching with your heels flat, when you're saying pull your toe up, what do you mean? Is it like just the big
stick your
toe?
big toe up in your shoe.
Okay.
It pushes everything down onto your heel.
Okay. Thank you.
Everybody knows everything, right?
I guess we did good. We did good sometimes.
All right, figures.
Hi. So, how would you warm up for a squat, deadlift, or bench, whatever you're from?
Cailer, go ahead.
Well, which one do we start with? Squat. Okay, so I like just starting with just actually squatting, but then just doing it really slow until I start to warm up, and then I'll slowly go faster and faster. So more so just for like a tempo. And I feel like maybe different people have different issues as far as like, well, maybe whenever I squat, this is tight, when I squat, this hurts. Well, for me, whenever I squat, my knees hurt. So what I'll start with like the warm-ups, I just kind of go a little bit more narrow, high bar, maybe 3 sets of 8 to 10 tempo squats. Like, and I'll just really lightweight, and then just control the movement as much as I can. And really what I'm trying to do is just kind of get as much blood flow in my quads.
Now, did you see how he did that? That was fucking perfect form. The way his knees used to be before he learned how to heal himself, a doctor can only tell you so much, but a doctor doesn't know how he feels. But that's why it was perfect. He couldn't do that before.
No, like not even like with no weight. Now you can actually let your knees try the floor. Is that well, it's not that I couldn't before, but it's like if I tried to use like just my quads a lot, like in a stance like this, I mean even now it still kind of hurts, but I mean the pain's definitely like a lot less, I guess. It's more manageable. Yeah. So that's just how I warm up. I mean maybe I'll walk around the hip circle a little bit too, or just walk around outside for I don't know 10, 15 minutes.
Get his core temperature up.
Yeah. Get your core temperature up, get blood flowing. But that's kind of like what I do on first block. That seems to be like a nice one for me. So just the movement itself. Bench, just work on my triceps really good. Maybe on my back and stuff too. Rear delts, some face pulls, some rows. And then as much as I need to. Maybe during the summertime it doesn't take as many of these little exercises to get warmed up. During the wintertime, maybe it takes me a little while longer to get that blood flowing. But if it's like really hot outside, I've already been outside for like a while and stuff, and it doesn't take me as long to work on. Deadlift, I just kind of start deadlifting because usually if I'm working for something 800 or more, you know what I mean? Like I have to do so many sets to get to that anyway that I kind of slowly warm up by the time it actually happens.
And that would count as volume.
Yeah, sure.
And how would you start with on a deadlift? Would you start with 2 plates, 3 plates, or would you start with 1?
Back in the day, I'd start with a red, then I'd put on 2 reds, then I would go to like 550 or so, which was about the same in the squat. But I was healthy and young.
The glorious days.
Yeah.
What do you think now? Thank you for the answer.
I take a lot more warm-ups and take my time. That's all.
I guess I really like using the movement itself to warm up as much as I can, instead of worrying about like a bunch of other little warm-up exercises I could do. No, there's like plenty that aren't great, but I've always favored using the movement as I can, and starting as light as I need to, and just doing that until I feel warmed up with that weight, and then just kind of progressively up until like whatever it is I'm doing.
And to piggyback on that, when you start warming up with the bar and the movement, you can kind of address issues as you see fit, right? So if you do a movement with the bar, you're like, oh, my hamstrings feel a little bit tight. Maybe you can address that while you're doing it instead of doing all this stuff beforehand if it's not necessary. So listen to your body and kind of let it tell you if you need something extra.
So what Cailer was talking about with doing like a little bit of a tempo squat, A little more than 30 years ago, I wrote an article called Leader Before Tempo. And it was just called the 10-second squat. So on the way down, you just take your time and you can feel the right position all the way down and then come up. And you're in the right position to come up. So if you take your time, you're teaching your body how to squat right, you're healing it because it actually becomes therapy, but you're setting it up for massive muscular and strength gains because you're in the right position to move the most weight. What we're doing all here, I should say, is learning. We learn from helping you guys. We wanted to make powerlifting part of our lives to last a really, really long time. If you want to do that, you have to take the time to learn all the little things. That's like dotting your I's and crossing your T's when you write a paper. If you don't do that with the proper punctuation, you get a C instead of an A. You fuck up somewhere along the line, there becomes a weak link that shows up. Not when you're going light, but when you're going heavy. That's when you don't make any more gains. When you get hurt, you get fed up and you quit. Now you can't do anything ever again. That would suck, wouldn't it? So just take your damn time.
Top few accessories for squat, bench, conventional, and sumo deadlift?
We might have differences. I think him and I have a lot of the same, but you go first.
Bench. I think obviously bench. Obviously with all the main moves, doing different variations of those moves. For me, I say bench. I like dips. I like weighted dips. I like dumbbell work too, as far as like presses go. Those are some of my favorite. Even that unilateral work, as far as getting those stabilizers flowing. But back work is one of the underrated things on your bench press. If you can't be stable with it, if you can't support it, you're never going to see a giant bench presser that has a weak back. You think about that as your launch pad. That's your shelf with your squat as well. So doing back work is definitely one of the things, staples for bench, for squat, and for deadlift. For squat, I think one of my favorite things is tempo squats. Tempo squats, pause squats. Those are two of my favorite moves because it also is training that pattern of the squat. And so that's going to be helpful for you, keeping your tension, staying tight. And just like what Ed said, if you're reinforcing all the way through that tightness, you're working on that position, it's going to help you all the way through. And so you realize...
Try to do a set of reps of that 10-second rep thing. A set of 8 to 10, and see how you feel by the time.
You'll realize where the weak point is in your squat. But you'll realize where the weak point is in your squat, you slow it down like that. So
what's your favorite deadlift stuff?
Favorite deadlift stuff? I like to pull off blocks. I like to pull off blocks, off deficit, and I love variations of rows. Just a lot of back work. But the pause deadlift sometimes reinforce position as well.
Cailer?
Pretty much the same thing for deadlifts. I really like the block pulls. Okay, well, so that's all we need for conventional deadlift.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of how my style of training is. That's just how it's always worked for me. Is like for sumo, I have to do everything I can to get better at conventional, and then just get better at the technique for sumo, and then it just seems to get better. So like same things that Stacy said as far as getting better at my conventional deadlift, block pulls and deficits. Like I love those. And I guess like I'm happy that she brought that up too, because I feel like those are two pretty simple things to do. There's nothing like super fancy that maybe we're doing that other people aren't. So I don't know.
It doesn't take fancy
It
exercises
really doesn't.
like to really make gains. It's doing the hard stuff, doing the simple stuff, but doing it for a long time.
And then just maybe figuring out like the smartest way to train that for yourself, the smartest way to implement those variations in your routine and whatnot. And then for bench, for me, like closer bench has always helped me the most with just my regular bench. And just like really, I guess anything else that I can do for my triceps, but usually like close grip bench seems to be the best thing for my regular bench.
And then just get his arms.
Yeah, and then just practicing bench press, getting better at bench press. And then squat, kind of same thing. Box squat, tempo squat.
SSB also. I love the SSB for squats. Yeah.
See, I feel like I would, but I'd also like doing, if I could choose, I would do more SSB, more high bar squats with a closer stance. It just kind of gets up my knees a little bit too much to the point to where, and that's just like kind of my own issue. But if I could have it in the perfect world, I would probably prefer to do a high bar and more SSB stuff than I do currently.
All right, we need squat. My whole off season was for weaknesses, but I kind of figured out from a young age how to address my weaknesses with exercises that would transfer over to my main lift. High bar, close stance, pause squats. My quads were weak, my hips and my back were always strong, no problem. Whole off season, I did a whole training cycle of those. In the bench, my feet would be up on the bench and I would be doing close grips. And I would put my feet up to do inclines to make it harder. Deadlift was deficit conventional with no belt, and stiff legs with no belt, and heavy ass bent over rows, the way the style I do. Cailer does the same style.
So a lot of body movement.
A lot of body movement. You want, if you only do a row like this, as opposed to this,
All the way.
you can see how much more row and how much more muscle you use. That's what you want, which helps with everything that has to do with back and shoulder health around your scapula, which gets back to being the bench. Where do you put the weight on when you squat? On your back. That's what braces everything. Where do you lay on when you bench? Your back, but it has to brace everything. What do you pull with when you deadlift? It has to stay tight as fuck and rigid. Your back. Build the back.
I like it when it's one, too. Squatting.
You know what, for good mornings, I did a cycle because I couldn't deadlift for a long time with a safety squat bar. And I got more out of good mornings to teach myself how to get tight in my core than I did actual, get help from my back. Yeah, it really helped me out a lot. Yeah. Because as soon as you break, everything locks up. So what you do, the way we do bent over rows, especially with no belt a lot of times, is we have to brace and hold the whole time. So what you're doing is you're teaching your whole core from here, all the way up and all the way around, how to work with your back to stay tight. That's important. We want to teach how the body, how to work all as one piece together. If it will not work separately. You can't bench and say, I'm going to use my triceps, my shoulders, my chest. It doesn't work like that. Everything has to work synergistically together.
How should you feel after a workout? Like, should you feel sore, not sore at all?
I feel pretty fucking good. You know why? Because I wrote out my program so I would make every attempt all the time and never fucking miss. Everything hurts way more when you miss than when you make it.
And also, if you think about your training, you're building, right? We're testing one time. We're testing on the platform, really. If you're trashing yourself through every workout and you just can't even complete the next reps and sets or the next days, if you're too trash, guess what? If you're not able to recover from it, you're not going to be able to get stronger.
Where are you going to go?
Yeah. If you can't recover, you can't get stronger. People think that you have to go so hard all the time, but if you can't recover from it, it's not actually going to be beneficial for you. So definitely find that sweet spot where you're feeling good, where you're progressing, where you're able to progressively overload. That's what you want to do.
What's the purpose of the workout, of the routine? It's not at the beginning, it's at the end. I'm looking 10 or 12 weeks or whatever, weeks down the end, that's what counts. So write out your routine accordingly to get you to that point. Everything has to be doable. Then if everything's doable from the start, and you know it, and you're going to get to whatever point you want to, using your head, you walk in every week with confidence knowing you can get it. Apprehension is okay, but just go after it, it'll be fine. You set it up that way.
What are your thoughts on the tripod? Maybe utilize it in your training.
For me, well, a trap bar is cool for a lot of people because it gets them more likes. If you were going to do a trap bar, it would be like, for me, only if I had a back or a knee problem would I do a trap bar, and I would do it with a deficit. If you do a real high deficit with a trap bar, you can use that as a leg exercise if you have a knee and a back problem because you don't have to hold the weight the same way and balance it.
But like these ones from the floor, like the high heels from the floor.
Yeah.
That's just bullshit.
But for some people, it can teach almost leg drive, like if you're driving through the legs for some people. But the high handles, it's kind of the ego strap.
Yeah, that's just really cool.
Yeah.
And most guys don't have their shirt off.
That's me. That's literally me.
Anything for the brand.
Yeah.
You alluded to good morning. So I have a question with those because I usually try to go kind of where I stand on my squat, but I don't put my toes as far out. Is that about where you do?
About the same as your squat.
Okay.
But don't do a rolling good morning where you add more weight and you end up doing the squat.
Right.
Just barely bend your knees, brace, bend over to hit parallel or so, and then come back up. That's it. It's that simple.
How do you manage the mental and the emotional aspects of training, whether it's like
Pick up how did I mentally what?
How do you manage the mental or the emotional aspects of training, whether it's anxiety or like it's a mental game, so how do you get over some of those things?
If you write out a routine and you pick the numbers right to where you're not overdoing it or overshooting what you think you can do, you walk in there with a certain amount of confidence that you can do it. Now, you may be tired, you may have had a fight with your man or whoever else you get in a fight with, you may have a shitty ride there or work sucks that day. When you walk into the gym, that should be like your savior. It's not always going to be easy, but you should have confidence and say to yourself, why am I here? What is my purpose here? Do I want to work out or do I want to train? If I want to just, now you can have written in your routine where anywhere in the routine you can have a down week or a deload. I think I have to pay someone $50 if I say that word. But you see what I mean? So you can have written in a routine where you might have to have a down week at some point in it, take it, but still do something in the gym. But as far as everything else, it's like, how bad do you want to do it? I want to do it. This is my therapy. This is my gift. It's like a gift to me every week when I get to go in the gym 4 times a week. I love it.
Just think about your perspective, right? It's like, how are you looking at your training? Is this something that you want to do, or is it something that you feel like you have to do? If you feel like you have to do it, maybe take a step back and reevaluate why you're doing it in the first place. And always remember, one bad day doesn't make a champion. Remember, you go into the gym and maybe you say you had a bad day and you let it affect you inside the gym. That's the one thing to avoid doing, right? That's the one thing to avoid doing. This is the place where you can cancel out everything else, all the noise that's out there. This is the place where you can come in and you can get better. You can decide if you're going to let everything else affect you negatively or if you're going to use it positively. So remember that you're coming in with a purpose, and this is, COVID hit and everything, and gyms shut down. And I think a lot of us realize maybe training's not a chore. Maybe training is a blessing. Maybe training is a gift. This is the time that I can invest in myself. Regardless, I can get stronger, I can get better. So it's all about how you look at things, right? And remember, if you have a bad day, ask yourself why. Look at what happened and then try not to repeat that, right? And so you just come back and you get a chance every single day to do something a little bit different, to do something a little bit better and make something of it. A lot of us, I think we probably overthink a lot of things in our training. We'll get anxiety about stuff, but just take all that out and look at it for what it is. Squats, bench, deadlifts, all the accessories. That's what we're doing. We're trying to get better at the squat. We're trying to get better at the deadlift and set yourself up so that way it's a priority. So if you set yourself up with your recovery, if you set yourself up mentally to this is what I'm trying to do, this is my goal I'm trying to achieve, it'll definitely make you see things a little clearer.
And then when you do it, you become mentally stronger each time.
And those bad days, that's what builds character too. So maybe it's not a bad day.
You'll be able to be talking to people and smiling like this and then go, when you walk up to a shop, you fucking change.
Is there a good number to start with, like as far as how many warm-ups?
No, as he just said, when he has his deadlift up from 8 to 900 and gazillion pounds, he's going to have more warm-ups. Make it so you're warmed up. Don't worry about how many warm-ups you take, as long as you're warm enough to get there. Each set has a purpose to prepare you for the next set that's going to get you to the next set, that's going to get you to your top set. Take your fucking time.
Like at least, like for me personally, I like to make them at least the same every time I train. They're usually almost the same every time I train. I'll take the same jumps. I mean, up to a certain point, they're all going to be the same amount of weights. That way, I feel like that helps me a little bit when I get to the competition, or warming up the competition. I already kind of know what my warm-ups are like always going to be. Whether 1 plate, 2, 3, 4, 5, so on and so forth. I like to be consistent with it because
Then he knows how much time it's going to take him to warm up. So let's say the competition starts at 9 p.m. or 9 a.m. Now you know, okay, I'm going to write down my warm-ups. How long is it going to take me? How much time do I need? You write them all down with the time you have to take them before your first attempt.
That's a good point too. I see people often in the gym have these sort of long, elaborate warm-up schemes, multiple reps and sets, and I don't, most of you are competing or have competed or are going to compete. That shit is not going to happen in the fucking warm-up room, you know?
Unless you start early enough. You have to prepare.
You're fighting over a rack with 5 or 6 other people and you're a fly, and there's only so many plates, so like, it may benefit you to learn to like be efficient in your warm-ups because like, you're just not going to have a 45-minute warm-up scheme. I've seen guys come in with charts and graph paper, like, this is, it's not realistic.
For last warm-up. Or they don't have a chance to take it.
Right, yeah. So
no, fuck.
Practice how you play, right?
And remember when you're warming up too, especially on the platform or, getting ready like that, I see people doing sets of, 10s and like 8s and I'm like...
Nervous energy.
You've got singles, right? On the platform, you're pulling singles. You're benching singles. So kind of remember that.
You're not at home. You don't have your buddies around. You got a clock on you. You got judges. Not controlling.
I have a question. I feel like I've been trying to think of how to word it. I'm making some career choices that involve me stepping away from the barbell. And,
completely?
Not completely. No, I'm still in here.
Okay.
But I'm cutting a bunch of weight, and I'm going to go through a period of time where I don't get to touch a barbell at all. And having like a legitimate identity crisis. Because this is like, this is my stuff.
This is what you like. This is your therapy. So all you gotta do is just stay in shape. If you're being completely out of shape, you can't come back. It takes you so fucking long to come back. And what you have to go through to come back is usually really fucking rough. Because you're not the same person anymore. But if you stay in shape, and I'm talking about just regular fucking calisthenics and mobility work, you can come back way fucking sooner. There's times where a lion, after he eats a meal, won't eat for 2 fucking weeks, and they just lie around. You know what they do? They stretch. That's all they do. Are they still stronger? Yes, because they're staying in shape. They're keeping things moving. That's all you have to do, and you'll be fine. And then you come out on top. You're a better person for it. You're mentally fucking stronger for what you went through.
Yeah, this involves me being in very good shape. It's just a different shape. And I feel I'm just having a hard time balancing wrapping my entire identity in powerlifting.
You're not. You can still
lift. What it feels like.
You just can't lift as much.
And that's okay. Think about your priorities. So if you're changing your career, if you're doing something different, that means that's going to be something your powerlifting may not be the top priority. Staying in shape and training, as long as you stay in shape and you keep in the gym or working out, if you're just not loading a barbell or a squat, guess what? Your priorities have shifted. So maybe my top number 1 is not to move the most weight. It's just to stay where I'm feeling good and still use this as your therapy. Do push-ups. It doesn't matter. When I stepped away from competing, I'm not dead yet. I'm still in the gym. I'm still moving. If I ever want to get up underneath the bar again, it's always going to be there for you, right? Just make sure you take care of yourself, because if you completely wrap your whole identity in powerlifting, then what else do you have? What else do you have? You have to make sure that you know what you're doing, what are your goals here. And so for me, if I'm not competing anymore, my biggest thing, I'm not trying to squat 500 pounds on a routine daily basis. Why? Because that's not my main goal and priority right now. My main goal and priority is to excel in my career, is to excel in something else. So ask yourself, is this serving me? Is this helping me or is this hurting me? Make sure that you take care of this, because you wrap up in just powerlifting, that's not going to help you in whatever your career path is, or if you're trying to cut weight or lose weight, whatever that goal is. Ask yourself, what can I do to reach these goals? Powerlifting will always be there for you. Take care of yourself.
Powerlifting isn't here. I don't compete anymore, but I'm still a powerlifter.
Same.
When I leave the gym, when I walk out of the gym, I'm still a powerlifter on the inside. I'm just a regular fucking dude.
And you always have that ability to come back to the barbell. It'll always be there for you, right? And that's the one thing that we all are pretty much united by, the barbell. The reason why I started training was to make this be quiet, right? And that's still going to be there. That, enjoying training and counseling all this out and making all the noise go away, it'll still be there for you. It might just look a little different, right? So even if your priority shift, take care of yourself and make sure you're asking yourself, is what I'm doing leading to my immediate goals? And if it is, keep on going in that direction. It'll always be there for you.
So I have the opposite goal.
Okay.
I'm able to train. So like here in 4 days a week, I actually have my mind down in that space.
walking the
at the
gym.
beginning. You started again already.
You're here.
You're here. Just take your time. If you try to see, if,
So like,
if you
let's
lift,
go with the time because that's so clock says that you're turning that one, and that's enough.
if you lift for a while and then quit, certain part of your body structure stays really, really strong, and a lot of little things get really weak. So when you start back, you have to start back very slow and do all the reps and all the exercises. Take your time to get everything strong again, because there are going to be little weaknesses that you don't realize that will set you back if you try to go too heavy too fast. Just take your time.
Well,
You got the rest of your damn life.
Like, come in for 30 minutes. I mean, it's like I was used to doing, at one point, doing 2.5 hours.
Do the work. Set it up on paper to do the work. And stick to it. See the clock? There's your training partner. It doesn't lie. So every whatever amount of minutes, you gotta go again and do a set. Worry about the work and the intensity of the work and not the weight, and everything else will come.
Sorry, you alluded to it. Rest between sets. Main lifts versus accessories. Top lift.
I go faster during
Top
the
sets.
sessions. When I decide I'm ready between the main, then I go, I don't even look at the fucking clock.
When you're recovered, you're ready to go.
When I'm ready, I go.
You think that has its limits though? So, I mean,
Yeah, if you wait too long,
Maybe
you
you
start
can't
getting
feel like-
cold. But
you can't-
mentally and physically, you can get cold.
yeah. But maybe you can't tell like everybody, hey, just know when you feel like you're ready, because what if that's like 20 minutes? You're like, okay.
Yeah, because I mean, you don't get 20 minutes at a meet. You may get 8 minutes.
No, if you have 10 people in your class, it's about 15 minutes. A minute between sets, then or between from the low lift, and or 3 minutes and then a minute, whatever. That's actually like 15 minutes. So you can take 10.
I mean, find that sweet spot for you. Definitely don't rush back into it. I mean, like, I think one of you guys has mentioned it and like wanted to do it right behind each other, right behind each other. I'm the
Yeah,
same
you're
way.
not pumping up your arms.
Yeah, we're trying it so you don't have time to really regain that composure and everything within 30 seconds, right? So take your time as far as, just not staying warm. Don't clock out for 20 minutes or 30 minutes.
In the off
something like that.
season, take less time, get in shape.
Do a little bit of cardio, it's a condition. But there's a sweet spot for it. Just find what works best for you.
Did you say cardio?
Yeah.
The C word.
C words.
Hey,
More than 3 reps.
rude.
More than 1 rep.
When it comes to like stretching and mobility, where do you guys put that in, when it comes to stretching and mobility, where do you put that in relation to actually lifting? Do you do it in the morning? Do you not do it at all? Do you do it before you go to bed?
I do everything at night before I go to bed.
When
Then I
was-
sleep better and I get up feeling better.
When I was feeling my best and I was the froggiest, I did it in the morning, I did it at night before I went to bed, and then I did a little bit before I trained. Like, so just a little bit. But like when I wake up in the morning, that's whenever I want to make sure I'm feeling good. I want to be attacking the day, right? So I'll do a little bit, not a ton, not 30 minutes or anything. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, just moving, right? So I like to do it in the morning when I wake up. And then
During commercials.
yeah, do it in the bed, but yeah, before you go to sleep too. And just find when it works best for you, but definitely add it in there.
I kind of like to do it just like as needed, as much as I feel like I need to.
You can do it as part of your warm-up routine before you lift. But listen, if you do a routine in a perfect exercise, that is a form of, that's almost mobility work and therapy anyways.
But when you're competing necessarily, so how you're training when you're maybe 8 to 10 weeks out might be a little bit different than say if you're, several months out. If you're
Yeah,
like,
one's a peaking cycle,
Yeah.
one's working on my weak point cycle.
so if you're not competing for maybe 8 months or something, you don't necessarily need to be focusing on peaking your strength. You need to work on building those weak points. So that would be a time I would say if there was an ideal time to add in more isolation stuff or more volume, I would say do it then whenever you're way further out from the meet. Because you're not specifically trying to get a 1 rep max necessarily.
We can't hear you. Speak up, scream it.
So in regards to
I like the longer ones. I like a lot longer training blocks. I could work my weak points longer. I like training in the gym more than I did competing. I like getting stronger and bigger in the gym because that's what I did and that's what I wanted in the first place. It's just a meet was just something I had to do to prove it.
So when you're talking length of those, are you talking more like 10, 12 weeks, or are you talking months?
I go 12 to 14 weeks. But sometimes it's a whole year where it flows into the next one. That's how you set it up. I don't set it up so I go from one thing and then boom, I gotta get ready for a meet. There would be so many weeks of grace period to get used to the regular lifts again before I came back out.
So could you give me an example of how you would set that?
Let's say if I ended a training block with high bar close stand squats for 2 reps, there would be so many weeks of learning how to squat again regular before, to get familiar with it again, before I started training for me. So like 4 weeks of a grace period. But that 4 weeks has a purpose too. It sets up whatever else is to come.
In theory, all your training goes together, right? Like it all, the end purpose is obviously if we're competing on the platform, that's our end game purpose. But how you get there is through building. And so if you can put so many training blocks, no matter if it's 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 12 weeks, if you can put them all together synergistically, it just makes sense. That's how you're going to get stronger. So overloading over time and just progressively.
How do you balance how much, let's say you have friends or family that are against lifting, especially for women, that have grown in a culture that very much teaches strong. How do you just take that to yourself? You try to share that?
Try to make yourself happy.
Yes.
Explain to them that being in shape makes me happy. I want to feel strong. I don't want to feel like I'm a victim. I want to feel like I can take care of myself. And this makes me feel really good. And I'm setting up my health for the rest of my life to be that way.
And just recognize that not all people, I mean, I'm a woman, I don't have the support of my family, of anybody really. There's not going to be, everyone's not going to understand your journey, but it's not theirs to understand. If you enjoy something, if it makes you happy, if that's your passion, lean into it. And if people are telling you, oh, don't do this, don't do that, don't listen to them. Don't listen to them. Because we have, even if it's our family, it sucks to say, but sometimes they're not living your life, right? They're not living your life, so their thoughts on what you're doing, at the end of the day, it's your life, right? So we always want to please our family, we want to make them proud and do whatnot, but making yourself proud is going to be the thing that's going to be most meaningful to you. So you kind of just have to put that aside, and if it separates you and them, as long as you're doing what you think is the best for you, that's where you need to stay.
Just say, I want to be really strong and healthy for when I get older so I can take care of you better.
It's hard to like expect people outside of powerlifting to understand why we like it so much. So I kind of just gave up on that a little bit. It's like I don't expect anybody to understand why I like this so much. I see from the outside why it might look strange that we do all this to ourselves, put ourselves through all this just to get a little bit stronger. Like I can see how it looks strange. We love it for some reason, and that's just how it is. So.
If you love something, keep it.
We think it's strange for them not to.
Like, why don't you?
Yeah.
And I think that we all kind of like that, right? Like we like being outside the norm. It's we're outliers. Rebel isn't the right word, but we're different. We kind of like being different, right? And then, but we have each other. So she gets it. You get it. I get it. They all get it. So who gives a fuck if my mom gets it? I got you guys. That's important to me.
So surround yourself with people that do support you, right? If your mom doesn't support it, your dad doesn't support it, surround yourself with people that do support it. Because it's not always, about your mom, your dad, or your friends. If your friends actually are your friends, guess what? They're going to support whatever endeavors make you happy. So really look at that. Just kind of analyze that a little bit deeper. Friends should have your best interest in mind. And so if this is something that you enjoy, a friend is really going to encourage you to do that and to do it more.
And if you have a good gym, there's not a plug, but we've been calling this place the Island of Misfit Toys for 5 years. They come here. People like you come here. They find it, and they find what they're looking for here. And when you find that group and you find that support, you don't need anything else. You're good.
Good question.
Yeah.
Why did you start?
Me?
Like all three. Like why did you start? Yeah, sure. Okay. Well, I guess like I've always been into the superhero thing, especially the ones that are strong and muscular. I always thought that was cool, and from a young age, since I was maybe like 3, even as early as I can remember, I always wanted that. So yeah, it's pretty easy to fall into the weightlifting.
I was bullied. I didn't really have a ton of confidence growing up. I always felt like I was subpar, and I wanted to find something that I was good at, right? And so one of the things I found was I could go into the gym, nobody could tell me what to do, right? If I wanted to go do curls and squat rack, guess what? And if I didn't have that sign hanging up on my right? There were no real rules. If I wanted to get stronger, I could go in there and I could just continue to get better and better. And so that was for me, it was an investment in myself. It was something that continually, if I was able to do more and more, I was getting stronger, and I recognized that. So for me, if I'm getting stronger doing this, it made me feel more confident in my normal life, right? So if I can get up under 500 pounds and squat it, what can I do, right? So for me, it was just about building confidence, about feeling comfortable in my own skin and knowing that if you put in the work for something, you're gonna yield a return.
Oh, I've told this before. I watched Pumping Iron, so I wanted to be like Arnold. Then I met Arnold in person, and I got an autograph, but my nose was in his chest. So I'm like, fuck, I can't be like Arnold. So I tried to be like Franco. Franco was a strong guy. But then I saw Bill Kazmar's on TV, powerlifting. So I was like, well, you could be that strong, that big, not have to die like that and pose on stage. I'm going to try this. The rest is that's what I want. Like a duck of water.
How old were you when you first went into a gym, Ed? And what'd you pull the first time? I know, but a lot of people don't know.
I was like 15. I weighed about 140 something pounds. I pulled a 435 deadlift. Well, stiff like deadlift.
Is that good, guys? Yeah.
Were your arms always that long? Okay. It wasn't from years of them pulling?
No.
How much days a week do you think it's after the training? I have a family of 3 little ones, wife and job. So I can only
How many days a week do you lift?
3.
Are your lifts going up?
Yeah.
Then that's enough.
Find what works for you. Find what's optimal to you.
There's a guy named Dave Jacoby, who was a 242 in the old days. He won like 5 world championships in the IPF. He trained twice a week because he was a trucker. Found a way, did it. Didn't accept the norm. Your norm is different than someone else's.
That was amazing.
Anything else?
What did you learn from us? What did you learn from us?
What's what?
What did you learn from us? What did we learn from them?
You tell me. What did you learn in the squat? Name one thing.
Sternum.
Keep your chin up.
Yeah.
Sternum up. What else?
I think he's asking what did we learn?
Oh, what did we learn?
Yeah.
Well, when we learn how to coach you, we figure out ways to work on people's weak points and to correct things that because every single person is different, especially on the inside. And there's a doctor in town named Cole Hightower who works at Jackson Wade. I opened up a magazine in his office once and I saw 5 different MRIs of different athletes that are all the same size. All the angles of our hips and shit were different. So there's going to be a difference. So we learn how to watch with a different kind of eye and observe little different things that normal people wouldn't get that puts you in a better position to be able to lift more fluidly without the risk of injury. So you can do it longer. So we learn all the time. Some cases are way, way more difficult than others. Where's my guy? No, where's my favorite guy? His name. But you find a way to get through to that person and you stick with it until their light bulb goes off.
I've seen Ed go down a rack of 8 people, 8 racks, and just, open up your tank. Stop lifting your heels. Like 3 seconds a person to diagnose what's wrong with their squat. Why? Because of years and years and years of doing stuff like this, it takes him only a couple seconds to recognize it. It might take me 3-4 weeks to diagnose an athlete's idiosyncrasies in their movement because I haven't been doing it 30 years. So but he gets better and better and better and
you
better.
guys have seen me talk about squatting and stuff before. What do I mean by open up your tank? Tell me. Open your adductors up. Don't just push your knees out. If you push your knees out, you can still go forward, and this up here won't open up so your hips don't rotate. Open up your tank, which was just a name I made up to make Mark Bell laugh.
And it's really, use your adductors.
Yeah, you gotta use your adductors. That's usually a weakness in a lot of people. If your knees buckle in, it's either coming from abs or adductors, and they're both fucking connected.
What we learned from you guys is how to be more effective communicators. That's 100%. All you guys are different, so the way that you learn something the way you learn something, it might be completely different than the way that she learned something, right? Some people might need physical cues. Some people might need to say open the tank. Some people might say use your adductors. It might just be different per person. So every time I do a seminar, for sure, I learn how to be a better communicator because I make sure that I speak to you in the way that sets out light bulb off, right? So that's one thing for me. Every time I do a seminar, I get better because I become a more effective communicator.
Yeah, that's kind of like what I was gonna say. Just like you can kind of get good at saying the same thing in a bunch of different ways because somebody's gonna understand it. Like one way of saying it kind of just gets through to that one person differently. So.
Yeah. So after I got through with the group, I'd say Stacy or Cailer, you got my group now because they'll see something different or explain it different. Like that.
That's the thing. There are definitely ways that work best and definitely more efficient, but the right wrong way is definitely not quite as cut dry as most people think it is. There are many ways to do things, and we're all different. So the way that's going to be best for you, or the way that you're going to understand, it's definitely a skill of learning how to communicate that.
Keep it simple.
Always.
To apply is the genius part.
So something that may have clicked for me is essentially in each positioning for all the lifts is like your chest is up. So you want your chest up for squats or sternum up for bench, sternum up for deadlift, right?
Yeah, do a shoulder press right now, standing. Pretend like you're doing a shoulder press. Your sternum has to be up. Do a curl. Your sternum's up. Do a bent over row. Your sternum has to be up. It's kind of your body's way of protecting itself to keep it back and locked in. Anything?
Andres, what did you have earlier?
I was going to ask about my work requires a whole lot of cardio, just inherently. So I was going to ask a similar question about training cycles and recovery days.
I would do shorter training cycles and keep your reps lower. If you're doing, because you're a fight guy, he's teaching all the damn time. So if you try to do a ton of volume, your whole body's just going to break down. I would keep your reps no higher than 5, but do shorter, like 6-week training cycles.
Okay.
That way you can recover better.
Okay, that's the trick.
You have a question?
Yeah, I know I'll have more after you guys leave, so what is your best contact information? Easy to get a hold of your voice.
Instagram.
Instagram or email. But the best one is right here.
Whoa.
Right now.
Hey, April, come here. Before we're done, April and Knucklehead over here are the ones that brought us. So I want you guys to clap for them. And we'll be hanging out if anyone wants to take pictures or sign underwear or kitties or